a very special milestone episode of Rational Romantics. Guys, this is episode 10. We are so excited. We have so much to talk about today because this is the start of our breakdown of An Offer from a Gentleman, Benedict and Sophie's book by Julia Quinn. So come along with us as we deep dive this incredible book. We're doing the prologue through chapter 5 today. Follow along with us, and we're going to be doing the whole book. So Deb, how you feeling about episode 10?
Episode 10, I'm so excited. It's a big milestone, and we did 10 weeks, essentially, is what it is, because we've been doing one episode a week, and it feels like yesterday that we decided to do this, and it feels like yesterday that we had our first ever, I'll call it a call. Look at us, 10 episodes down. It's been such a journey, and it feels so natural now, so it's kind of cool to celebrate 10 episodes with our book.
Yes. So exciting. And I think it's just such a great, this whole podcast journey has been so fun, so lovely, and I feel like we have to acknowledge and celebrate big milestones in our own journeys as well. So I have to call out, Deb, you hit 10K followers on your Instagram, which is so exciting. That's such an amazing milestone.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting. I was like, what milestone are we celebrating? 10th episode, 10K. It's been a 10 on 10 week, honestly. Thank you. I'm so happy to have reached that big milestone. It's a really big deal. Any content creator, any professional-esque Instagram page really just hopes to get that little K on their profile. So I'm really grateful because I know that everybody who's following those 10K are just people who love the things that I love, and that's all I could ever hope for. So I'm really, really happy and grateful to have everybody along with it. So thanks.
So well deserved, and here's to so many more. This community is growing so beautifully, and I have to shout out, I just had yesterday my 5th year anniversary on Instagram, and I'm just so grateful to have gotten 5 years of incredible connection and creativity and love with you guys. So we're just feeling the love all around for the Rational Romantics today. It's just great.
It's amazing. I love those little pictures that you took with the 5 balloon. So cute. Honestly, I wish we were closer so that we could have done a little balloon party to celebrate these milestones, because it's true. It is a big deal, and you've been doing this for 5 years. That is half a decade. That's a lot of work and time put into it. So congrats to you too, girl.
Thanks, love. Yeah, it's been a fantastic week. And we're going to go through just a couple of updates in the wider world from Bridgerton before we dive into the book, because we're going to go fast because we got a lot to cover in this book. But first off, we did get confirmation that The Gilded Age Season 3 is coming in June, which, Deb, that's homework for you at some point because I can't wait for you to watch. It's going to be amazing.
I'm very excited for that.
Good. It's I will say the first season, maybe a little slow, a little hard to get into. Second season, phenomenal. So that's my assessment.
It gives me Downton Abbey vibes from afar. So I think it's right up my alley. When I finish The Buccaneers, I think Gilded Age she's next. So that's exciting that it's coming out soon, so I can just get on the hype train. Is that the expression? That's not the expression. What's the expression when you jump on a train? Oh my god, is that Canadian? Jump on the bandwagon?
Bandwagon. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's train wagon, whatever, same.
The train wagon. I like it. Well, and then we also got fabulous news in the Outlander world because the long-awaited prequel about Jaime's parents and Claire's parents, Blood of My Blood, is coming out August 8th. So that's a long wait still, but it's coming very soon. So very exciting.
Very exciting. I mean, in terms of months, that's just like right around the corner. And, you know, we're in, you know, in between season 7 and 8 of Outlander. This is the perfect way to tide us over, and yeah, it's just a whole new world in a way. So it's exciting to get to know these characters, and super exciting to see the new stills or the poster for the new season, seeing Jamie and Claire's parents like in both different times. Like it's really exciting, and I mean, why not? Like sounds like a perfect way to spend the end of my summer. And other really exciting news, we've got just teeny tiny crumbs in the Bridgerverse. We saw that they may be filming at Lousley Park, which is actually the location for My Cottage. There was a picture from an extra at the gates of Lousley Park, and it seems like they might be filming and wrapping up some stuff at that location. And there was even talk that there might be a musician on set, so we just kind of snowballed and said, oh my god, it's the Benefi wedding. But who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah, and it's hilarious to see this absolutely giant, gorgeous estate in the English countryside be, air quotes, my cottage, because it is very much not a cottage. But it's very perfect, and I mean, what a romantic setting for anything to happen in Bridgerton, but especially if it, fingers crossed, happens to be a Benefi wedding. I don't know, but it sounds lovely to me, so I'm on board.
All right, Cass, what do you say? Is it time to jump in to an offer from a gentleman? So excited. We are like so giddy for this. How excited are you to dive into this book?
Well, I'll show this for the people watching, and then I'll ASMR it for the people listening. Those are the crinkles of all of my tabs. There's probably 30 tabs or so for 5 chapters.
She almost said 40, just so you know, so it could be 40, it could be 30, we don't know.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, all of the highlights, all of the everythings. I was doodling at points, because I was like, why not? Let's put these little doodles in here. So I am extremely excited. When I read the entire set of the Bridgerton series the first time, this was my second favorite. This was second only to When He Was Wicked. So I love this book. I think since I watched season 2 and reread the book and everything for Kate and Anthony, that has since supplanted this. But we'll see. Like, this is my third read of this only. So only my third read. But let's see.
Only. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. It definitely struck me. It really stood out to me when I first read it from beginning to end. I was like, this is different than the other ones. It really stood out to me just because it was almost like the closest thing to like a fantastical world or storyline out of all the Bridgerton books, in my opinion. So I just thought, I really love that like fairy tale-esque vibe to it. So yeah, I'm really pumped about it.
Oh, I'm so excited. And it does fit so well into like the Bridgerton show vibe, which, so I'll say this, with kind of how we're going to attack the book. Whether you have read this never, come join us. If you've read it many times before, come join us. We will definitely be talking about how we think it's going to connect to the show, how things could go. If we're going to spoil something that happens like at the end of the book that you do, I mean, obviously we know that Benedict and Sophie end up together. That's not a spoiler. But if we have like specific things we want to reference, we will spoiler alert that. So hopefully that will be a good balance for people that have read it before. If we're like, hey, that's foreshadowing for this, we can let people know. But also, if you haven't read the book before and you don't want to know any details, you can skip ahead 30 seconds and miss that. So we'll try to keep that balance for everybody because this is great. And we have lots of people who are coming along with us that have read these books and devoured them and love them. But we also have people coming along with us that this is their first read. So welcome. We are so excited to dive in with this.
So excited. So let's do it. Let's do it. Prologue.
Prologue. So I have a note on the first line. I have it highlighted in green if anybody is following my annotation guide. the central idea, I feel like one of the major themes and motifs here is the central idea of legitimacy, and that's established in line one, I think is so compelling, where it starts off with everyone knew that Sophie Beckett was a bastard. And using that harsh language with it, I think it just immediately dives you into this story and it makes you sympathetic and starts making you question from the start who Sophie is.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, I haven't, like, ever annotated a book, but I was like, I don't know that you highlight the first ever sentence in a book typically, but I highlighted it too, and I was like, that is such a rough way to start a book, and it's very telling, like you say, to the overall theme and guiding light for our main character as to why she chooses to do the things that she does.
Yeah. Well, and it's they definitely establish so much of Sophie and her character in the prologue, because it's interesting too that we've spent, 2 books prior to this with the Bridgerton siblings, and then this book doesn't start with a Bridgerton. It starts with the love interest and her way back. Like, I thought it was really interesting. I had kind of forgotten how young she joins the Earl's household in this story. Like, she joins his household at 3, and I'm wondering if that's going to be the same. Are they going to keep it like that in the show? Are they going to make her older? Like, 3 is such a tender age for all of this to start happening, so I just wonder.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because they could go obviously 2 ways. They could stay true to the book and have it be the age of 3 and have Sophie not have any memories of her mother and her, her life before arriving at the house. But then they could really play with the emotions a lot more and have it be that Sophie did know her mother and that she did lose her at a young age and have that kind of baggage following her. So I feel like they could play it both ways. But yeah, it is a very young age for her to be just left at the doorstep, and to know right off the bat when she does meet the Earl, who is her father, that she understands that is the case, because that's kind of how it's set up. But it might be interesting to see them play it off at an older age so that she kind of has more of an understanding of, like, the situation she's walking into, literally.
Yeah, for sure. And my instinct is that latter idea, where I think she's probably going to be a little bit older, which it's not like Sophie doesn't have enough tragedy in her life, oh my gosh, but I think they're going to lean into it for her early years. Well, I think it's interesting too, because that idea of belonging to really carries through, where she, it says it's my page 3, but that her best friends are the maids and the footmen, and this sense of where she's pushed into, she doesn't really belong in either world, right? She's not fully upper class, but she's not really a servant either completely. She's higher born than that and has all of these, she's just a taste of a life that could have been hers, and that's all the more devastating. So sad. This is a sad beginning.
It is a sad beginning. And then it also notes at one point that, I think on page 3, page 3 as well, that she spent 7 years alone in the nursery. So I feel like they could, cut some of that time and have her with her mother more, and then jump into her being thrust into this new nursery. Maybe she's thrust into, like, already being a working servant the second she arrives too, which would probably be more in keeping with the true Cinderella story. So they might lean into that more. But yeah, really tragic start for sure.
Yeah, and that's what, like, my heart absolutely broke on page 4 when Sophie is thinking about when she's going to meet. So we get the kind of background of her with her dad, and then her dad marries Araminta, who brings with her, obviously, Posey and Rosamond. And when Sophie is getting ready to meet who should be like a new mom to her, her thought is, please let her love me. And I feel like that's so interesting, because Sophie, even at this young age, she's 10, she is very aware that she's not loved like she's supposed to be. And because she gets that same thing with her dad, like this small taste of what her life could be if she just had love. And it really connected in my mind to when Yaren Ha was talking about crying when Sophie first hears the words "I love you" in season 4. I'm like, yeah, because she's still that little kid at 10 who was like, please let her love me. Just like, please let somebody love me. And it's just devastating.
Ugh, so sad. It is so sad. It's so tragic. And I think that this part, like page 4 and 3, is like, it's a really big moment where we see her hope for the last time. It feels like the moment that she says, and I think it's on page 3, where she says, but now she'll be getting sisters for real. That was the last time she let herself be hopeful, because she just got hit in the face with, okay, I didn't actually get sisters, and wow, okay, I really didn't get a mom either, and now I'm just being threatened. And I think that's just a very like foundational aspect for Sophie throughout like the real time that we're gonna see in Bridgerton, of her being like, there is no way that any of this masquerade stuff is ever gonna be real for me. Like, she's just a very smart girl, and unfortunately it seems to be because of the harsh realities that she had as a child. So
Yeah, that's so true. And I loved the metaphor on page 5 where it says, but Sophie was rootless. And I like that idea too, where it feels like she's never had a home, she's never had a place, not only to just feel like she belongs, but to actually grow and to flourish. And so we get this version of Sophie that is in survival mode since she was a kid, since she was a very little child. And I think that's why so many of us, I think, identify with Sophie, because there's that piece of us, and obviously I hope most of us have not had the experiences that Sophie had,
yeah.
but I think we can always identify in some way with not feeling rooted, not feeling like you can grow and flourish in this environment. So devastating and also relatable.
And I think on the flip side, though, there is a really beautiful series of moments between her and Mrs. Gibson, the staff of the house, where you know that she can find some little glimmer of hope of feeling like she belongs somewhere. But it does really seem that she really is keenly aware that she should belong somewhere else based on who her father is, but she is okay belonging downstairs with the staff because that's just how it has to be. So this first part of the book, the prologue, it's so rich in setting the foundation of Sophie. And it makes me wonder, though, and I might be jumping ahead, but it makes me wonder if right out of the gate in season 4, are we going to get this? Or do you think that it's going to be reserved for a later episode, maybe mid-season? Like, where do you think we're going to get this background?
Will we get this in a flashback is my note. So you're killing it. That's exactly the same that I had. Same thought, same moment.
Of course.
My instinct is that we are not going to know about Sophie's background until like episode 3. And that we're going to get it in a very similar sense to the way that we got the Duke's trauma, Antony's trauma, all those things in like an episode 3, episode 4 type situation. And I think it's possible that like, okay, so I'm going to make a weird metaphor here. But so like the book Jaws in comparison to the movie Jaws. So in the book Jaws, the shark is described on the first page. That's the first chunk of text, is this massive description of the shark.
Okay.
In Jaws, in the movie Jaws, you don't actually see the shark until like halfway into the movie. You don't even really get a glimpse of it. And that builds up the fear and the anticipation in such a way. So I think it would be interesting, and I think they could do a similar thing with building up the tension of not understanding, why is Sophie so this way? Why is she so mistreated? Why are all of these things being the reality, until episode 3 we discover this whole history that she's a bastard and that she should be loved by this family because they're her people, but instead she's ostracized and abused and hated. So that's a thought.
That's a great analogy, and honestly, that's what I think is going to happen too. I really think that we're not just going to open up after the intro and be like, this is the story of Sophie. Here you are on a silver platter. Like, yeah, I don't think that that's going to be the case. There's going to be some mystery there. So, interesting. But cool to see we're on the same page.
I love it.
Yeah, love it.
Well, and then definitely, so we get the whole scene in the hall where they're meeting each other and Sophie doesn't get introduced. And poor Sophie doesn't know where to stand. Again, very metaphorically relevant to her not knowing her place.
Sophie.
But then there's a scene of her meeting the other girls in the nursery. And my question is this. In the show, how bad are they going to make Araminta? Because I forgot how fucking terrible this woman is.
I know. It's just the, like, where she, like, grabs her and she's like, don't forget your place or whatever. And she's like, you're hurting her. I'm like, Katie, you could never. I'm just so, like, sure that she's going to be so much more, like, incognito cruel, not so obviously cruel, if that makes sense. But yeah, I forgot how awful she is. She's tough.
Well, and I think that there could be something, because not that I think that they're going to make Araminta, like, redeemable in any way, but I think we have to make her comprehensible. And I think that there's a balance between, like, a fairy tale stepmom can sometimes be, and not that there are not people who are this cruel to children in real life, because there are, but I think sometimes that kind of, like, fairy tale stepmom can be cartoonish, feels like the wrong word, but, like, cartoonishly cruel, like, over the top cruel, so that it doesn't feel as grounded. And I think that there could be a version of Araminta where her actions are, from her perspective, extremely warranted, because she wants to keep Sophie away and keep this idea of, like, tainted blood by, like, being a bastard and whatever away from her daughters, because there was such a crazy, ridiculous, and misogynistic idea at the time where, like, almost like immorality was catching, and because, like, her parents weren't married, she had this sin, like, blemished on her soul or whatever, so that she could infect the girls.
Yeah.
While that's super problematic and wrong, I could understand slightly more if she's like, don't get around my children. However, if she's physically abusing this child, I think we lose any chance at having any understanding for her. So I wonder if they'll draw a line before that.
Yeah, I feel like they will. Just because I feel like it was like the introductory article from Shondaland, Katie Leung was really setting the stage for, like, there's a reason why she is the way that she is, and she was talking about, like, having empathy for her in some way. Like, this is not quoted, it's just paraphrasing, but I just feel like there's definitely going to be dimension to her, and there's definitely going to be some sort of potential for not necessarily a redemption arc, but just clarity as to why she is the way that she is. Maybe she comes from a troubled marriage before. Maybe she, there could be so many different things, but I think that they're not just going to make her cruel because it's stereotypical. I think there's going to be a reason to it. So, to be seen, but yeah, there's already been hints that she is the way she is for a reason.
And I feel like a quote that really brought home the damage that Araminta does in this, because Sophie's already very aware that she doesn't fit entirely in this group. And then she says Araminta says on page 10, don't you ever, ever make the mistake of thinking you are as good as the rest of us. And whew, that's rough.
It's so rough. And I love, from a storytelling perspective, how quickly we get that reference again. Even in just this part 1, she says, like, I told you, so we'll get into that when we get there, but that is her, like, she is steadfast, like, do not lose your place, do not forget. And she's already talking about, like, I do not want my girls to, like, be associated with you. You will not be in the same nursery. You will not have the same governess, whatever. Everything is separated from the get-go, so that, I mean, is intense. So,
yeah. And then, which, I feel like this is true in all the other versions of Cinderella as well. So I teach fairy tales to one of my literature classes every year, and it's always really fun to watch kids like read the original version of Cinderella and them to realize like the dad was there through the abuse, and to be like, where the fuck was the dad? Like, and that's how I feel on page 11. It says, as for the Earl, he never intervened. And in my notes, I wrote, do I hate him most? 'Cause like, how do you do that? I mean, like, not that Araminta is like fine, but like, she's coming in with someone who she doesn't know or love or whatever, and like, you should love your stepchildren and whatever. But like, this is his child. He has brought this woman into his household, and he's going to what? Just shrug and like let her by with doing, I mean, and how much does he know? How much is it willful ignorance? I don't know, but I'm real pissed at her dad.
You know what though? That's a very good point, because later on in the prologue, when he dies, and he's like, you can have 6,000 pounds as long as you keep her with you. Isn't that like some kind of form of torture? Like, you know full well that she's literally being an evil demon with this girl, and you're just gonna say, I'm not gonna intervene with the way she's treating you, and then I'm gonna tell the wife to then keep you, and everybody's not gonna be happy. Like, that's like some kind of savior backfire. Like, that is no good, dude. That is no good. Are we ready to jump into chapter 1?
Let's do it. Let's get into a little happier. Just like a smidge happier.
Just a little bit happier. Because La Masquerade is upon us. In chapter 1. Look at us.
So exciting. Yes. My very first question for this chapter, though, is how do we think this season of the show is going to function, given that we know Lady Whistledown's identity? So, I mean, what do we think is going to be different here about the way that Whistledown dives into this?
That is, I think, the ultimate question. Because I was thinking about that just today. I was like, how the heck? And I think about it, I put myself in her shoes, and I'm like, how awkward is it to have to report on your family? It's weird. It's weird because there's a lot of like talking about the Bridgerton brothers and who's eligible and the Mr. and Mrs. and everything. It's like, what do you do when that's your brother-in-law? Like, do you do that? Do you pretend like it's not weird and you just do it? I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like a recipe for resentment within that family. And which I wanted to point out, I'm jumping ahead to the Whistledown at the beginning of chapter 2, but I feel like we have to talk about this, where I got real pissed because, I mean, what she says at the end of that, so she's talking about how they name their kids alphabetically, and then she says, perhaps it is best they stopped at 8. Bitch, they stopped at 8 because he died! Like, what is wrong with you?
Oh my god. Thank you. Every time I've been listening to the book mostly all week. I've listened to it like 3 times, and every time I'm like, bitch, he dead. They didn't decide to stop. That's like a Cressida thing to say. Like, that's not Penelope Lady Whistledown. That is like Cressida Lady Whistledown. No. She wouldn't. Well, Penelope would never. So, no.
And I find it really interesting because I feel like this comes up very consistently whenever we discuss, like, anybody discusses, not just you and I, but like when people discuss the character of Penelope, like, I think because, especially on the show, because it's voiced by a different person, and then especially in the books, because we don't know the identity until her own book, we sort of treat Lady Whistledown like a separate person from Penelope, and I think sometimes Julia Quinn treats Lady Whistledown as a separate person from Penelope, where nobody really wants to hold like Penelope accountable for the things that Lady Whistledown has said. So that's rough.
Yeah. That is very rough. Very rough. So, I don't know what to do with that, because even I feel like I do that. Like, I'm reading this, and sometimes the things when I rewatch season 1, I'm like, Penelope, you said that? You wrote that? So, I think that there is some over-dramatization of the Lady Whistledown voiceover that is meant to throw a, like, brand new viewer. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's a lot of references to, you know, baby making, but, like, Penelope acts like she doesn't know how that works, and it's like, you know, that doesn't add up. So I think there's a lot to do with the way that television works. Right? So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and Bridgerton, God bless, I love it for so many things. Continuity is not its strong suit. Like, people are pregnant for weird amounts of times. Colin is somehow in the season 2 epilogue, even though in season 3 he comes back from traveling all year. Like, continuity is not their strong suit. That's okay. Not what they're trying for. So I give them that. I give them that forgiveness. So that is a thing, for sure.
That is a thing, because the amount, before we got season 3, the amount of times that I had tried to, like, figure out where the epilogue of season 2 lands in terms of Colin's life, I'm like, he's in purple? Does that mean he's in love? Is he already married? Has he has he, like, hooked up? Like, where is this in the story? It would drive me nuts. So, it's like the epilogues just, like, exist in, like, this alternate universe. Which,
They really do.
Fine.
They really do.
That's fine.
It's like fan fiction of their own show. It's fine.
It is. And I love that.
Okay, so diving back in to chapter 1, we're still with Sophie, which again, I think is a really interesting way to start this book, because we already know Benedict, and Julia Quinn is really, really bringing it home that we are supposed to love Sophie. We're supposed to recognize this as a Cinderella story. And we're just supposed to lean in on this character. And we are. Like, I'm fully leaned in. So, it works great. But it's a lot of time with Sophie at the beginning.
That's true. I honestly hadn't really thought about that reality, that it really is a lot of Sophie at the beginning. But I think that subconsciously, that's just what we needed. So, it never struck me until just now that it is very heavily Sophie. But, yeah, it really allows us to get to know Sophie, set the stage, because now at this point we're in, like, real time with Sophie, like, it's present day with Sophie. So now that we know her past, we know now we're learning the lead up to the masquerade with Sophie. So yeah, I think it's just really painting the picture that she's a working professional now in the house, and she is just everybody's, like, minion at this point. So it's sad to see. It's sad to read and to see, you know, the way Rosamund treats her, the way Araminta treats her, but then there's also Posey, which, God bless her, really gives us some hope there. But yeah, it paints a really, really good picture of, like, the pre-masquerade situation for Sophie.
Yeah, and I love that because I feel like it's so exemplified there's a quote on 19 where it says, sometimes it seemed that was all she did with her life, up and down, and she's running up and down the stairs and up and down the stairs, and it's monotonous, and our girl is, like, smart, chess moves, all the things that they've talked about for her in season 4, so yeah. Wanting to see more for her from just being ordered around by a bitchy Araminta, so...
Yeah. You know what I really do hope, though, is that the internal dialogue that Sophie has in the book, I hope that she says it when she gets downstairs. Like, when Rosamund is like, my tea's cold, and she's like, bitch, it was hot when I brought it to you. Like, I hope that we hear her saying that to, like, her buddy downstairs, you know? Like, her sassiness and her internal thoughts are like my favorite thing in this chapter. So she's just like, I can't win. Yeah, whatever. I'll get you some more hot water. Drink it when I bring it. Like, I love that. Sophie is like such a cool girl. I love it.
That's such a good call too for her to have to like be able to externalize that dialogue, that internal dialogue. That's fabulous. Well, I think it's interesting too to establish for Sophie because, you know, at some point I'm just like, girl, why don't you leave? Like go ahead, like do the thing. But she says something really compelling on 22 where she says, if Araminta was the devil she knew, then the rest of the world was the devil she didn't. And Sophie had no idea which would be worse. And frankly, that's so real. That's such a valid fear, especially in this time. And Araminta is not going to give her a reference. Like if she wants to go be a maid somewhere else, like that was a big deal because your servants were so trusted around expensive pieces of cutlery and jewelry and whatever. And so if she doesn't have a reference, she's kind of out of luck. And so her trying to leave would be very dangerous. So I get it.
Yeah, that's very true. And you just kind of continue to see all the different hats that she wears too. So sure, she's got all this experience, but who's going to vouch for it? Like nobody's going to vouch for it. So at the end of the day, like, I guess it's working right now, so it makes sense that she's staying. But, yeah, it's interesting to see where that leads her in terms of when she actually does leave. But we will not spoil. But, yeah, she's just kind of, you know, doing her thing. She's, like, getting whiplash across the house. Like, I need this done for the dress. I need this done for the whatever, like, you gotta do my hair, you gotta do this, and she's a seamstress, she's a hairdresser, she's everything, everywhere, all at once, and, yeah, it's just really telling of her every day. It just seems to suck, like, it just sucks.
Yeah. And obviously no praise, no gratitude. I mean, Posey, you know, but of course Posey's the one who gets the short end of the stick always because she's not the demanding one. I mean, the short end of the stick being that she doesn't have Sophie at her beck and call. But, you know, like, yeah. So the demanding people always get it. One thing that I thought was interesting with that, too, because, so you get Posey dressed as a mermaid. We saw that in the show. Rosamond dressed as Marie Antoinette. Also saw that in the show. Mm-hmm. But then you have Araminta, who's dressed as Queen Elizabeth. And we saw something very different. She is in all black for the show. Which, so what, I mean, do we think that that's a character reflection? Is that something plot-wise, like, because the Earl just died? Or is that just, like, she's scary, so she's in black? What do you think?
She's scary. She's a black crow. That's what she is at the masquerade. No, I think my favorite theory is...
compare her to a bird in this, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah. When Sophie first sees her in the prologue.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Oh. Maybe. But, no, I think my favorite theory, though, is what we had discussed in an earlier episode, is that she is in mourning, which can kind of tie into maybe the beginnings of us trying to understand the way that she is. Her just maybe not, like, jumping into, like, this frivolous activity, like, no, I don't need to because I'm in mourning, so I'm better than this. You know, like, playing that double-edged sword there. So, who knows? But, yeah, I thought that was interesting when we saw what she was supposed to be in the books and how she very clearly is not. Unless she's, like, doomsday, like, attire. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, it's definitely very different. But it's cool to see, though, like, on paper, seeing that, you know, Posey, the mermaid, and Rosamond, Marie Antoinette. But my favorite part, though, is the way Sophie had asked if she was planning to put a ring of faux blood around her neck. I was like, I really hope that there's, like, that little job reference, even if it's from downstairs, being like, you know, she's missing something. You know, I would just love that. I can see Sophie super sassy downstairs.
Yeah, I think we all need that because she is sassy and we love that about her. We love a sassy girl. Mm-hmm. One I love too how, and I think it fits very well with the Cinderella archetype because I want to see her be kind, but not necessarily nice. And I feel like that's a distinction that I want clear because, like, kindness is being generous to people. It's being loving. It's being like she is with Posey, where Posey's all insecure about being a mermaid and Sophie's so supportive and lovely. And, like, being nice would be like, I don't know, placating people and just kind of rolling with it with Rosamond. It's like, you do not have to be a doormat to be kind. And so I want Sophie to be able to stand up for herself, but still to have that kindness that is such a big part of that Cinderella archetype. And I think that we can see that balance. I think we see it in this book. So
Yeah,
I love that.
totally. Even we're chapter 1 and we can already see that. How, like, she's doing alterations and, Araminta's like, oh, Posey, your eyes are so puffy. And Araminta's like, or Sophie's down there, like, shaking her head. She's like, no. And she's just doing these things just in case somebody can catch her and she can make them feel better. And that, like, just exudes her kindness. She can't speak up, but she can do these little, like, micro kind actions that will hopefully here and there be caught by whoever needs to see them. So she's already such a well-balanced character, and we're just like, freaking page 26. There's no reason for anybody to not like Sophie, and, like, she's the best. She's the best.
She really is. And I think there's a quote on page 28 that I think really sets up her mindset through all of this so beautifully, is when Rosamond says, if you wish for things you can't possibly hope for, you're only going to be disappointed. And she really vocalizes, I think, Sophie's reality. And that's why, I mean, obviously we're going to get into the masquerade, but the fantasy of that and the fairy tale of that is so unreal to Sophie, and she doesn't think it can last, because that's her reality. But then there's a wink from Mrs. Gibbons. So what is this wink doing here?
Also,
Why is she winking?
Yeah, I know, and it's so nice because, like, we don't know much except that she's really like, oh, look, we just made some cookies. Come have some cookies. Like, it's fine. Don't worry. She's so. There must be such a backstory to Mrs. Gibbons where she just wants, some redemption for Sophie. She's been like an eagle-eyed viewer, like, witness to everything that's happened to Sophie since the moment she arrived. So, as a reader, seeing that, like, she winks. Why does she wink? She's been around. She knows what's up. What does she have planned? So that's, like, just the beginning of so much excitement.
It really is. Well, and, like, it feels so magical. Like, I really hope that we get this scene of Sophie being transformed, because that whole thing of, like, everyone deserves to feel pampered and special at points in their lives. And so that she gets to be swept up into this fairy tale of, like, yeah, we don't have an actual fairy godmother, but, like, this is so much more real and so much, like, so amazing to have people that care about her make her up and let her be herself.
Mrs. Gibbons is just the fairy godmother of this real life tale. I love that. That's so sweet. I really hope we get that, like, montage of her, like you say, of being dolled up. It makes me think of, like, Penelope with, like, Ray, where, like, she's like, I'd like to try something different tonight. I hope that we get that with Sophie, where it's like, she gets dressed up at all these beautiful things. So here's hoping. But yeah, it just seems like ultimately, as soon as Rosamond, Posey, and Araminta leave, it's like, go. We don't got magic tonight. There's no pumpkin, but we're going to make this happen. So they get her all dolled up. And I think that my favorite part, though, is when she pulls out the glove and she mentions, like, these were your grandmother's glove. And it's the first time that they're talking the truth. They're speaking the truth of, it's true. Like, she is your grandmother. We know you deserve this night. So I think that the gloves, we know that the gloves are important, but having this on paper from the book, it's just, Yeah, it's really special, and knowing what happens with the gloves later is just so lovely. So put those gloves on, girl. Put them on.
Grandma would be proud.
She'd be so proud.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I do have a question for you. So, what do you think about the change in the show? Because in the book, it is like a dress from the previous century, like it's an old dress. Uh, and now we have like a Regency dress. So, what are your thoughts? Like where did she get this dress now? Also, do you wish it was more like the book dress? What are you thinking?
I think it would be really cool if one of the staff had sewn it together or like used old fabric and like made something for her that would be more appropriate for a Regency ball as opposed to, a previous time. So I kind of hope that there's that kind of fairy godmother-esque revamp of an old dress, which I guess would be pretty true to the Cinderella story, where something is like literally created for it. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Cinderella story from the Amazon Prime one with Camila Cabello.
I still haven't seen that. I need to.
Oh my gosh, you need to! Yes, oh my gosh, you need to, because it is so good. It is so well done, and there's so many references to Sophie in my mind, because the character Cinderella in that movie, she's like this creative woman, this seamstress. She's a designer, and she would just love one day to sell her pieces, her thing, like she's like needling like everything. So I would just love to have like a nod to that, where somebody in the household made a dress for her based on something that was laying around. So, but also, yeah, you really need to see that movie. Big time.
Well, it has my man in it. It has Nicholas Galitzine in it, who I love. So I can't
Right?
believe I haven't seen it. So I need to.
That the soundtrack will just be Benefi to you, because that's in my Benefi playlist. It's so good.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay, well, that's my homework for sure. Okay, so they have the whole outfit together and it's gorgeous, but there is one piece missing, and obviously the shoes are going to be a symbol, a thing, a plot device, all the things. But I really love the line on 33 where she said the thought of walking anywhere in Araminta's shoes was somewhat creepy, and I felt like that was such a modern line, like calling it somewhat creepy was great. I really enjoyed that line.
It was low-key creepy. Like, it's so modern. The first time I re-listened to it, I had to, like, rewind it, because I was like, did she really say creepy?
Right.
But I love it. I love it.
A little anachronistic, but we roll with it.
We love it.
Oh my gosh.
But, yeah, it's so telling, like, she does not want to be wearing her shoes, be caught dead in her shoes, but also, like, the idea of, like, being her in some way, shape, or form is just, like, no thank you. But she is taking a risk by wearing the shoes, but girl gotta wear shoes at the masquerade, so she's just gonna go, and she's got a game plan. You need to be back by midnight. Classic. We love that. You have to be back by midnight. You have 2 hours. And that's the line, I think you highlighted it as well. 2 hours that she'd have to make last a lifetime. It's so beautiful.
Which I gotta put a pin in that, because that language is gonna be paralleled very soon. So it's a great ending line for chapter 1. Wait until we get to the ending line of chapter 2.
Well, on to the next. Chapter 2, babe.
Dive in. So we finally have Benedict. We're finally in with the Bridgertons.
He's real. He exists in this book. Benedict, let's go. The second of 8 children. Number 2, as it were.
Number 2. Poor guy. Which,
Poor guy.
I feel like it's such a great line when it says it on 36 of where it's Benedict was a Bridgerton, and while there was no family to which he'd rather belong, he sometimes wished he were considered a little less a Bridgerton and a little more himself. Oh, our poor tortured artist.
Tortured Post Department. Hello? Like, isn't that just like the most like high level synopsis of Benedict as a character? Like, he just loves the family, wish he knew himself, and wish people knew who he was. You know, he's just trying to figure it out along the way. And I love this whole series of people being like, oh, you're a Bridgerton. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. Which one are you, though? Number 1 or number 2? No, you're definitely number 2 because the Viscount's over there. I'm pissed listening to it. So, like, bro is fuming. And fair enough.
Yeah, and it's funny because I like that parallel that they're not really a parallel, but that juxtaposition, I guess, that they have where he loves his family, but he's also a little sick of being consistently identified only as them, and there it parallels. Sophie, where again, like, it's the same but opposite. Like, Benedict has too much belonging. He belongs too much to the Bridgertons. And Sophie has no belonging. She doesn't have any name. And all Benedict is his name. And so they have to meet in that middle to kind of be who they are to each other.
So cute. So cute. Oh my gosh. I'm so not ready for this season, Cass. Like, I'm so not ready. Ah, so sweet. It's so sweet. Yeah. Also, Benedict in love, like, please.
I'm so ready. Okay, I'm jumping ahead with that, but, like, when his mom drops the L word of, like, oh, it's nice to see you in love, I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh my god.
Isn't it, though? Isn't it, though? Oh, Violet is us. We are Violet. Oh my god. She played it a lot more cool than we will. Whew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, which we have to talk about Violet because she's fabulous through all of these chapters. But I absolutely love her scheming of like, you need to dance with Prudence Featherington. And he's like, oh my god, fine, but I'll dance with Penelope. And she's like, good. And that's what she wanted the whole time.
Yeah. I love that so much. But I do have to be, let's just be clear though, that she initially says, please dance with Hermione Smythe-Smith.
Oh.
I beg for this. Set me up for Smythe-Smith. And we just talked about this last episode. Can we, please, talk about her existence here? Or the Smythe-Smiths in any way, shape, or form?
Well, can I ask, who the fuck is Hermione Smythe-Smith? The girl's name is Honoria Smythe-Smith? Like, it's in the book as Hermione. You're right.
I know, but
Julia,
it's fine.
Who the fuck?
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Smythe-Smith.
Yes.
Insert whatever name you want. Doesn't matter. Oh my god. She's the drummer we never got to know.
That was so good! Shut up! That was so good!
Sometimes that's it. That's the podcast, you guys.
The drummer we never got to know.
Oh god. Whew.
My face hurts from laughing.
I'm sorry. Sometimes.
Oh, that was amazing.
Just sometimes I have those moments.
That was hilarious. But yes, set up the Smythe Smiths for us, please, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, lordy. But, yeah, I also love the description of Prudence Featherington here. She was essentially a nice person, had a brain the size of a pea, and a laugh so grating he'd seen grown men flee with their hands in their ears, over their ears. Oh, God. I mean, justice for Prudence Featherington, but yeah, I guess. Yeah, but it leads him to have to dance with Penelope, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and also, can we talk about the difference of costumes for Penelope? Penelope is a leprechaun in this. A leprechaun.
Thank you so much, Shondaland, for putting her in a pirate costume. Like, that is justice for book Penelope. A leprechaun. I would have much rather her be part of the fruit bowl that her family is. Like, why is her family a bowl of fruit, but she's a leprechaun? Who made that decision? Who? So,
But also,
yes, pirate
talk
pen
about
always.
that Portia is a bunch of grapes. Like, how the fuck do you dress as a bunch of grapes?
I don't think they had like purple balloons back then to like be a grape or anything. So
She's like when Lady Gaga wore the big balloon dress, but instead of clear, it's purple.
I feel like yeah, Bridgerton could figure that out. But yes,
Oh yeah.
at least like she is a sexy pirate. So that's good news. Thankfully. But you know what? I think when I first re-listened to the book in like preparation for this, I was like, I need Benedict to literally dance with Penelope at the masquerade in season 4. I would love that little Easter egg, but like he actually ends up dancing with her because in the book he doesn't. He kind of just like gets blindsided by Lady in Silver. But I would love Penelope to dance with him and have this moment of like him harping about all these ladies and her just having some kind of words of wisdom, knowing what it is to be the wallflower, and then having Sophie come in as like an incognito wallflower, and it just setting up this long-term theory that we have that Penelope and the Queen will somehow have something to do with Sophie being brought into society. So that's I just need Penelope and Benedict to dance together. That's it.
I love that. I love that as a way for her to like dispense wisdom. That's brilliant. I love it. It has to happen. Love it.
Okay. I'll cry if it don't. It won't. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I also, if Michaela is at the ball, I really want her to dance with Benedict. Also, like that's a thing. Everybody could dance with Benedict. It's good.
Everybody wants to dance with Benedict.
Exactly.
Everybody gets a turn. Ah! I would love, yeah, I need a familiar face to dance with Benedict because he's always just hiding behind somebody to escape the like all the women. So I just would love to see somebody, is like an endearing moment with him and his like extended family.
That's so cute. I love it. Well, I'm glad that we still have this in the book where we have all of this pollen foreshadowing because it's going to be great to see married pollen at the masquerade ball. Would not trade that for anything because that's going to be amazing. But also, like, when he's talking about Penelope on 39, and he's like, Penelope was a nice enough girl with a decent wit and personality. Someday she'd find herself a husband. It wouldn't be him, of course. And in all honesty, it probably wouldn't be anyone he knew. But surely she'd find someone. I wrote LOL. I was like, probably not even thinking of Benedict.
I know, I love that part. I was like, that is rich. That's rich. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Little do you know, Benny. She's gonna be your sister-in-law. I love that. That's such a good note.
Okay, so I think we have to hit the big moment. The first sight of the Lady in Silver. So, what do you think of this moment?
I think it's exactly what you expect. And I think that, you know, it brings me back to Penelope in the revenge dress at the first ball in season 3, where she's just showing up. She's like taking off her cloak and she's just walking into the ball. But everybody's like, whoa, like I don't need it to be like grand, like doors fling open. Oh, the Lady in Silver. Like she can just arrive and not everybody's head needs to turn except for Benedict. I think that that's the only thing that I need.
Yes. Yes. And I need it. I need that. I want, so here's my vision of this to fit with the book. I want, like, before she has fully walked in the room, like, I want to see her approaching, and right before, like, she needs to, like, pause, like, breathe, take a deep breath, get ready to step in, and then we need to cut to Benedict, and I need him to look before she walks in, because that's the thing that he says too, is that I think he says it later, but that he felt it before he saw her, before he walked in. He felt this, like, love for her first. And that is, this whole book is chock full, especially this first, like, section, chock full of Shakespeare references, which the whole thing with Shakespeare is that love at first sight is about these, like, this Greek idea of the two souls that are together before you become people, and then you get pulled apart and you have to find your other half again. And it's this idea of knowing somebody before you've ever met them. And it reminds me so much of in The Tempest, when, I think it's Ferdinand is his name, when he meets Miranda, he doesn't know her name, but the first thing he says is, "Oh, wonder," when he sees her. And Miranda in Latin means wonder. So he says her name before he knows her. And it's because it's this, like, cosmic link between them. And that's what I feel for Benedict and Sophie so deeply, is that, like, he sees her and he knows her immediately, even though they've never met. And I need it.
Okay. That's fine. That's so perfect, Kaz. And it was such a good note, such a good flag there. Because, yes. And the only way that they could do that at the very beginning is just having him already looking at the door, feeling like she's coming. And maybe he loses track of what he's talking about when he's dancing with Penelope, whatever. And that he just, like, stops. And his life is completely altered. And I just think that's kind of what it is in the book, where he's just kind of enamored by this person. But I just need it to be just him. Like, I don't need everybody to be gawking over him, because there's over her. Because there's this part where he needs to, like, interrupt everybody who's trying to, like, clamor around her. And I think that what's so beautiful in the Cinderella stories that I've seen, like, especially I'm thinking of the one with Lily James. That one, it's like, I know other people are, like, looking at her when she arrives, but the prince just walks to her, and it's just assumed that he's the one who's going to be dancing with her. I do love how he's like, she's already promised to dance with me. Like, I do love that part in the book, but I would just love it that there's just, like, a magnetic pull for the both of them, and it's just understood that, like, yeah, we're gonna hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so perfect. It just feels like destiny. Yeah. I love it.
I love that.
And then, of course, we get one of the most romantic things through all of this. But I love Sophie's backbone during when Benedict is offering to teach her. He doesn't really offer, also. He sort of tells her, which is where we get into the, like, I love Book Benedict, I do. But he's a little forceful, a little pushy, a little bit to the point where I think that we would be not thrilled with that version of Benedict if we saw him on screen. So fine with that as a change. I love an impertinent hero. Like, I love him being like, oh, she's already promised to me. Adorable. Him being like, no, I'm teaching you. Like, a little pushy. But Sophie stands her ground. So we get a setup very early of that dynamic between them where, like, on 42, she's like, if I allow you to teach me. And he goes, when you allow me to teach you. If I allow you to teach me. Like, she's good. She's killing it. She's not intimidated. Yeah. So go her.
No, she's headstrong. She's headstrong for sure. But I love that she's just letting herself be in these situations, because 2 hours to make a lifetime, you know, make it all, like, worthwhile. So, like, she's in control. Like, she's in the driver's seat, even though he's sounding like he is. She's the one who's keeping things to herself, and she's the one who's like, yeah, okay, you can teach me, but, you know, she's just very confident, and I think that the mask is really helping her be that way. And I think that that's really, it's just allowing her to be her real self for the first time, and she's just running with it, and I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, book Benedict in this, not so great, but I think they're gonna play it. They're gonna play it really mindfully in the show for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think I read his pushiness into this scene a little bit, knowing, spoiler alert, things that are coming. But
Yeah.
so
Also,
I maybe read him a little pushy.
yeah, the offering of things.
Yes, exactly. Hence
Yes.
the title.
The title.
So also lots of the fairy tale language through this on 43 and on 44 when it's talking about like she somehow knew that he was the reason she'd stolen into the ball. She felt like a princess, a reckless princess, which great line, reckless princess. That needs to be like a song or something. That's great. And so when he asked her to dance, she put her hand in his. And I said through all of these, I also said, reading this while listening to The Prophecy by Taylor Swift is a fucking mistake. If the words get blurry on the page, it is my tears. So,
Oh my god, that's so good. That is so good.
yeah.
It's
I
a
was
fucking
doing
mistake.
TTPD the whole time I was reading this, and I was like, can we not talk about
They are
Sophie's Prophecy, please?
They are the tortured poets department. I will, like, we need TTPD in season 4,
Yes, oh my god. Yes.
right?
Yeah, we really do. Yeah. Well, because especially when you get lines like, it was nothing but a dream, but it had been so terribly long since she let herself dream. Like, that could be the tagline of the Tortured Poets Department. It really could.
It really could be. It really could be. Now we're going into Colin
Yes.
disrupting the situation. What a guy.
What a rascal.
Little rascal. But, like, can we not just foresee drunk pirate Colin just being like, what are you guys doing here? I would just love that. Drunk Colin from season 1. Good God, did someone die, Colin? You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, we need a repeat performance of Drunk Colin and Drunk Violet. Like,
Yes! I need it so badly. So yeah, like, if you just read this whole, like, section of Colin just being like, you know, obviously it's not like, I had to dance with Penelope, unless there's some sassy, like, fight going on that be, like, pissed about it. But, like, whatever. I could just picture Colin being like, what are you guys doing? Can I hang? Can we hang? I don't see you anymore, you know? What are you gonna say?
no, that just made me like, I feel like all of your little pieces just fit together in my brain right there. Where, so Colin was, or Benedict was dancing with Penelope, and she's giving him all of this advice, and then he sees the lady in silver and like abandons Penelope on the dance floor to go after her, and Penelope's like, go ahead, you know, she's like all chill with it.
Yeah.
But then Colin comes out all mad of like, you abandoned my wife on the dance floor, because he's a wife guy, and so it has to be like Colin, my wife Bridgerton, and
Yeah.
he can come out there and be like all pissy, and then be like, oh, I see why. Now I get to give my brother shit for liking a girl. And I think that would be very fun.
I love that. I love that. That can be so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Colin in season 4 is just gonna be a treat. He's just gonna be a treat.
He always is, but especially in season 4.
Especially.
My next note is a little broken heart next to a line on 49 where it's, she had always wanted a family. In fact, there was nothing in life she had ever wanted more. And like, heartbreaking, but also, babe, you're gonna get more family than you know what to do with. Like, you're talking to a future brother right there. Like,
You gonna be overwhelmed, girl. Okay? No, that's sweet. Yeah, there's so much foreshadowing of, like, her eventual, spoiler alert, happiness. So, It's lovely. It's nice that like their interaction, and I think that's what strikes Benedict the most is that it's so vulnerable and deep, which is what he kind of hasn't really had in the past. Um, I mean, I'd venture to say maybe excluding Tilly Arnold because I feel like they did have some kind of like deep conversation for sure. But I feel like that's what strikes him the most from like first encounter, they're having such deep conversations, and the fact that they end up jumping into on page 50 talking about something so like banal but ends up being so deep is their favorite color.
Yeah.
It's so minor, but for artist Benedict, he's kind of like, what do you mean? Why is my favorite color blue? Why is your favorite color green? Like, it's so, like, it's almost like for the first time ever, somebody is finally speaking his language. And it's really beautiful to see.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it. That was so beautiful. And I think the color green is going to be really significant. Like I highlighted it for my like symbols and motifs because I think we're going to see green a lot. Like that's just my guess. Because I don't really remember for the details, but well, and then speaking too about Benedict in this time, I think you're dead on. Where I think that because I'm assuming we'll see lots of Benedict partying it up in the first half or so of episode 1. And I think that we're going to see him start to grow kind of exhausted with that partying life. And not because he's not enjoying it, but like the line I wrote was hedonism brings happiness, but connection brings joy. And I think he's missing that joy piece that sits deeply within him that's not something external. I think he's starting to feel internally dissatisfied. And I think that's where we're going to meet him early in season 4. That would be my guess.
That's really interesting. Kind of like an accelerated like character growth of Colin in part 1 of season 3.
Yeah.
You know, kind of just going through all those motions and being like, there's got to be more than this. And I mean, for them to potentially squeeze that in the first half of episode 1 is just really telling of like the book sequence of like everything happens so quickly for him to be like faced with this masquerade and, you know, this lady in silver. So yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah. And I also love how smart Sophie is also, that she's able to figure out like which brother he is, and she's a smart girl, and I like that we get to see that from her as well.
And she really leans on the fact that she knows a lot because of Lady Whistledown. And there's that one point where she says that someone like me wouldn't know how to dance. That's paraphrasing very loosely, but, and he's like, that's really odd. Why would you say that? Like, why would you say, like, why would you reference yourself as not being, like, privy to any kind of information? Like, are you new to are you a debutante? Like, it's just, we know because she's never been in society, but it's interesting that he flags that right away, right? And that all of her information is fed to her through Lady Whistledown. So I think there's a really interesting tie there to, you know, how much knowledge she actually does have going into this, but how it also makes her lack in, or might make her vulnerable in terms of her real identity for Benedict as they go through.
Yeah, for sure. And she guards her identity very closely and doesn't want to let him know anything. And I think it's that sense too of like, well, she says more about that later, but that she doesn't want it to be real, because if it's real, then it could be disappointing. And that's also tragic.
It is. But at that moment where she kind of like stops him from talking is where they leave from talking and they go into the more physical side of things, which is interesting how she kind of gives that nod that like, don't say anything more. And he takes that as like, okay, well, I'll show you. And she's like open to this, and it becomes a different kind of connection, which is really accelerated in terms of like their meet cute and their like greeting and everything. But it's just showing how different this moment is for Benedict and for Sophie.
Yeah. Well, and that hits on, too, the connection of the ends of chapters. But Benedict says at the end of chapter 2, then we must pack a lifetime into this very night, which is like exactly an echo of 2 hours that she'd have to make last a lifetime. And again, it's the Shakespearean idea of them, which they do. Okay, so Shakespeare does, sorry, I'm going to nerd out. So sorry. So in Romeo and Juliet, it's one of the biggest things that they do that shows that Romeo and Juliet are meant for each other is that they pick up on each other's metaphors and like carry through them, and it happens like over and over again in Shakespeare that two characters will understand each other and they'll be able to like basically like speak the same language with their jokes and their connections and whatever immediately, and they will say parallel lines, like things that are similar to what the other person said even though they didn't hear it. And so that Benedict ends his first chapter with that is the same way that Sophie ends her first chapter. Perfect.
Come on. Come on. Now I just need to go back to the end of chapter 1 and see 2 hours she'd have to make last a lifetime. Then we must pack a lifetime into this night. Yes. Oh my god. Lines that I need in season 4 are those. Okay? Thank you. That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Damn. And then we go into chapter 3.
Oh my.
Which, so far in this, like, prologue to chapter 5, chapter 3, my favorite.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with chapter 3. Because it starts off post Lady Whistledown. With Sophie saying, dance with me. Okay? This is when it gets, the physical starts, and oh my god, it is so good. They say, like, we're gonna, like, she's like, teach me, and he's like, okay, pull my arm, let's go. Like, chapter 3.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's very sensual. This whole like, can you hear the music? Like all those things. It's funny because I literally have a note that I says woof, I can't talk. I have a note that I said, page 57 to 61. This will be good to adapt. Could be shorter and tighter. I thought it was a little lengthy. I was a little bit like, okay. Like we go into a lot of conversations about like him kind of discovering pieces about her, which I think works in a book, but I think they'll need to tighten that up a little bit in the show.
Oh yeah.
Because it's great and it's a lot of things, but I'm like, okay, a lot of side conversations, a lot of side quests in this little moment here. But
We'll see, like,
beautiful.
yeah, but see, like, last chapter, what I was just saying about her talking about her knowledge of Lady Whistledown, it so does not fit in chapter 3 that I was talking about it in chapter 2. Like, I feel like that's, like, a precursor to when they get physical. I really need, I mean, when I say physical, that sounds like, oh my god, when they dance. So, there's the conversation, and then there's the dancing. That whole segment of what you say, like, is, like, talking about Lady Whistledown, which paints the confusion, which I love, in Benedict's head.
Yeah.
Like, why is she all about Lady Whistledown? You know, it's just a flag for him because all of her knowledge is based on Lady Whistledown. So I think, like you say, that part, those pages should be in the talking points of the talking segment. And this dance, it's just dance. It's just Phil Collins in the air tonight dancing.
I love it.
Somehow I won that battle. I still don't know why, but whatever.
I think it's right for the mood though. When I reread this, I was like, that's the right mood. It's more slow and much more sensual, and I love that. So I'm happy with it. Well, and that's what I mean. Oh my god, like when Sophie on 61, when she's like, "Oh, this was desire," Sophie realized, like, "Oh yeah, us too, babe." Like feeling it.
I think we realized it too, girl. Ooh. And then, like, after all that talk, he goes, you still haven't danced with me. Girl. And then there's the part, it must be shortly after that. where she says she felt his length, not his length.
Oh my god. Okay, so yes, we have to talk about that. Okay, I have that as a note, which it's on 65. I said, dude's popping a boner? What the fuck?
I mean, she's just okay with that? Like, okay.
Right. I gotta
what's the
tell. I
quote?
mean, it's yeah, it's his length, but it says like. Oh my God, where is it? I don't.
Yeah, it's here. And Sophie grew hot as their bodies grew closer, then positively burned when she suddenly felt the length of him pressing against her. Can we get a definition here? What length are we talking about?
Well, that was my question. I was like, usually length, like in the many historical romances that I have read, that is usually a dick term. It just is. Like, that's what you do when you don't want to use anatomically correct words. You want to talk around it a little bit. And so I'm like, I mean, granted, in my life,
I think it's very large.
Yes. Like, she has a great line on 61 where it's like, but she was no gently bred lady, she thought defiantly. She was a bastard, a nobleman's byblow. She was not a member of the ton and never would be. Did she really have to abide by their rules? I'm like, girl, you're gonna get tucked in a garden if you are not careful.
Like, girl, she horny.
Which I do love for that idea, though, because so much of Sophie in her reality in the book, if I'm remembering correctly through all of it, is about like the shame of being bastard born and not wanting to repeat that and everything. And so I think that that's a very valid part of her character, that she doesn't want to have a child. She doesn't want to, be in that position. But I also would love some of her expressing the freedom of existing outside the ton, and I think that could be a thing that would work well for her and Benedict, that Sophie can experience and be like, I actually can own my sexuality, and I actually can experience the pleasure that I want to experience, and which again goes to my idea for what I want on the staircase, of Benedict being like, well, you don't want a baby, but I can make sure that other things happen and are all nice and good for you.
Fucking staircase. I forgot about the staircase. Yeah.
You gotta get more wine for this.
Yeah.
Good call.
No, I do love that. I do love that for her. Like, she isn't Daphne, in like season 1, where she's very like, this is the box, I live inside of it. She can think outside the box. And if the length of him is making her feel like, yeah, let's dance. Like, okay. Love that for you. Let's go.
Sorry. The thing I looked down at as soon as he said that you're like the length of him, and I looked down and on the top of 63 it says, I feel it, she whispered.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus Christ. Woo. Well, that's the thing, okay. Right? Then it goes into a lot of
Yeah, I'm like...
Glad I'm in my basement. It's like a freezer down here.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. But then, it just goes into all this, physical interaction of, your hair's like silk, and she mocks him, bro, you're wearing gloves. Do you not... So there's still that little element of, humor, which is so Benedict in the show. We don't want to lose that kind of humor and sarcasm and fun-willing stuff that Benedict does. So if Sophie can match that, and it seems like she is in the book, I hope that they do that in the show, where she's like, you don't know that, you have gloves on, bro. And then he's like, okay, I'll take off my gloves. There's just this cute little, they're meeting each other in the middle of this massive romance and this reality. It's just sweet. It's really cute and endearing.
Yeah, it really is. One that they switch so easily. Where she's going into where am I looking? Oh, Sophie stumbled, but she never took her eyes off his on page 64. My soul, she whispered. I see my very soul. That's almost saccharine. Like, that's so sweet. It's like a little bit almost overdoing it, but that they switch so much from that, these like beautiful, flowery, again, very Shakespearean lines of like looking into each other's eyes as like seeing each other's soul, like type thing. And then they switch and they can be like, oh, but you know, you can't feel my hair because it's, you know, you have gloves on. It's very cute and very charming and feels like they've known each other forever, which I love.
Yeah, it's very sweet. But then things kind of get serious and, you know, they're very much like in this kind of physical connection of like taking off the gloves, and it's becoming this whole little routine that is super sexy and just I feel like already has been painted so perfectly in the previews we've had of season 4 where like they're just so close and they're intimate in a way that we haven't seen like our main characters be right out of the gate. And we've talked about this, how we just absolutely love that he's like kissing the inside of her palm. Oh my dear God. And it is literally page 67. I yelled when I was listening to this in the car. I was like, this is literally the book. Literally the book. His lips continued their trail, sliding sensuously down her forearm until they reached the inside of her wrist. They remained there for a moment before finally coming to rest in the absolute center of her palm. Come on.
Yeah, it's perfect. They're gonna do it such justice in the show. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Also, I do just have to note on the bottom of 66, dude licks her. I am like,
Yes!
he went to the Anthony Bridgerton school of like everything. Like, it reminds me of when Anthony like licks clear up Sienna's neck in season 1, and then like he's sniffing her glove later. I'm like, you studied under Viscount Bridgerton for yearning, did you not, good sir? Like, what the hell?
Bros. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When he's oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is chapter 3. Let me remind you, this is chapter 3. That's insane. But like, okay.
Oh,
Sure.
and I feel like I have to jump back to 64 because we skipped over the very first kiss, the very first like touch of their lips. So, like, oh my God, but that's such a thing too. When you kind of touched on it, where it was like, don't speak, don't say anymore, and it's like, I won't, so therefore I'm gonna show you, and then they kiss.
Okay. And honestly, throughout this whole chapter, I'm like, I just keep hearing Luke Thompson as Benedict Bridgerton being like, don't worry, I'm not going to tell my mother. It's like, when are you gonna say that? And why? Oh my gosh. It's such, like, I feel like that whole segment of them dancing among, like, the beautiful flowers in the garden with the moonlight. It's just chapter 3 to me. And then, sorry if I'm skipping ahead too fast, but like when the gong sounds and it's like, take off your mask, that's where like the fairy tale kind of ends abruptly. So I just wonder how that moment fits into the show and where that quote from Benedict being like, don't worry, I won't tell my mother. Like, where do those two things align? Are they the same thing? Does it end on like a light note? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's gotta be like an intense thing, and I think I think the I won't tell my mother is gonna be like before the dance lessons and everything, and then they'll like move into it. That's my guess.
Okay.
Because it looks like he's like slowly coming closer to her, you know, in that. And then I have to note, I think maybe my favorite Benedict line, certainly of these 5 chapters, but maybe of the whole book, is on 67 when he says, "I want." His voice dropped into a whisper, and his eyes looked vaguely surprised, as if he couldn't quite believe the truth of his own words. "I want your future. I want every little piece of you." That. I need Luke Thompson to say that. That is the line I need in episode 1.
It's insane. It's insane that that's coming most likely in episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. This is why they're giving us so much so soon, because they're like, you guys need to mentally prepare for what we're going to be giving you, because it is too much. It is too much. And I feel like, as a side note, in like the press tour of season 3, there was like so much talk of like Luke Thompson being like this charismatic guy. It's so funny how Nicola was saying, I think it was Nicola who was like saying everybody has sexual tension. Yeah, that's what it was. Everyone has sexual tension with Luke Thompson. There's like a zoom in on Luke Newton being like, okay.
It's so true, because it's to the point of almost distracting sometimes how much sexual attention he has with Claudia Jessie. Like, it's so good. They have so much chemistry, and it's weird. I have to like ignore it, and I have to like turn my brain off from all of their behind the scenes stuff, because they're so like, and I don't think there's anything going on. It's nothing like that. It's just he has literal just chemistry and tension with everyone. And so like there are points when they're talking where I'm like, brother, sister, brother, sister, brother, sister, because like they're not actually in real life. So they have an energy. And I'm like, okay, just sometimes it comes out a little bit.
It's just so intense, and that's so true. You really have to like put blinders on and be like, they're related in real life too. I swear. That's what you have to like instill in your mind, because like I feel like the chemistry that Luke Newton and Nicola Coughlan have together, like Luke Thompson just like has that with everybody he encounters in like press, and I'm like, okay, that's something. So bless his heart. He's gonna smash it at the press tour. We are not ready, but anyways.
Oh no. Okay, so we get Sophie fleeing the ball. She has this near miss with Araminta. It's all very exciting. I love that as a setup for tension too, where we get this kind of red herring, like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get recognized because she runs directly into Araminta, but then she doesn't, and it sets us up for like a false sense of security as we head into chapter 4.
What I really like about how we go into chapter 4 is that you would expect that we would dive into Sophie and her like going back and everything, but we're talking about Benedict, and Benedict being like, whoa, she's suddenly just gone, like how do I find her, right? So it's just it's nice to continue to focus on Benedict. It's a really interesting way to tell the story, but it keeps that suspense.
For sure. And it makes me wonder too, because on 72, the reason that he gets stopped and can't find Sophie is Lady Danbury. And Lady Danbury is, like, she doesn't do anything by accident. And I definitely had like a pet theory when I was writing my version of season 4 that Lady Danbury was going to be Sophie's accomplice. She was going to be the one that helped her, or like was going to help her get out and things. So I'm wondering if Sophie will have some connection to Lady Danbury, because, I mean, we love her. We always need more Agatha in our lives.
We do. I'm gonna say the opposite. I kind of hope that we take a different kind of route there, because I feel like we often default to Lady Danbury being like the person who's gonna set everything up and make everything clear to everybody who's like uncertain. So I would just love to see Lady Danbury in like a different role and have Sophie. I think because I feel so married to the idea that Penelope and the Queen are going to help her enter society, that's just kind of what I want to see the most. But I could see Lady Danbury too, and you're right, she doesn't do anything by accident, so her kind of being like, hey, where are you going? You know, like, she's so wise and all-knowing, so, like, I wouldn't be upset if Lady Danbury had a part to play in it, but I think it could be cool to see a different kind of route for season 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Um, Oh, and then also on 72, this is kind of what I was talking about with so from the moment he'd seen her, no, from the moment before he'd seen her, when he'd only just felt her presence, the air had been alive, crackling with tension and excitement. That's what I need to see translated to screen, all of that beautiful Shakespearean drama that is.
Yeah, and there's another quote where he said he never once felt the same soul-searing connection that had burned between him and the lady in silver. Like, Julia Quinn, how dare you? How dare you? It's so good. It is amazing. So, yeah, you're just seeing right out the gate that he is hooked on this girl. He's so down bad. And again, like, it's gonna be so wild to see this in real life on the screen because he's never been this way for anybody before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to the point where, like, I kind of mentioned it before, but on 73, when all he has is her glove and his first response is to smell it, I'm like, definitely Antony's brother. Like,
For sure. Easily.
yeah. Yeah.
I like that adds up. You just smell it as much as you can. And what's great is that obviously he realizes there's the initials on the inside, SLG, and the family crest. So here we go, looping in matchmaker Violet. And I love this whole interaction where he's like, I gotta do this. I know my mom can help me, but I don't want to tell her anything. And she's so coy about it. She's like, why would you need this information? And I can't wait to see that.
So I'm definitely wondering, it feels like Sophie running from the ball could be the end of episode 1, or also we could still get the rest of part 1 as episode 1. So I just wonder, like, it could be interesting.
Interesting. And as you're talking, just like random thought, maybe it's Lady Danbury who's the all-knowing about the crest and like the family and where to go for that, because that would be really in keeping with her character on the show. So I think it could be cool to like tie her into that in terms of the matchmaker, like not have her like super deep in it, but have her be like guiding him in the right direction.
So what if, like, she's over for tea with Violet and Benedict's gonna ask his mom and he has to ask both of them because he can't wait and he can't bring himself to, so he has to face the two of them and both of them are like, is Benedict in love? Like,
Oh my god. Yes, that is exactly what it has to be. Throw in Hyacinth. Why not? Just like
perfect.
throw it in so she can bring it back full circle at some point, because you know she has to. You know she has to be like, what about Sophie? You know, or I don't know how we just know Hyacinth is going to have something to do with it, but I would love that. Yeah. Tea time, Violet, Agatha. Just really, really gonna piss him off, but he's got to get the info. That's the only way he's gonna find them, or find her. So, yeah, I love that.
Well, and we gotta have that, like, one of my favorite lines in this whole thing is the, on 77, Violet, saying, I'm not even gonna ask how you obtained her glove. Like, or just be like, do not tell me I have raised 3 sons. I do not want to know. Like,
we do not have to talk about that. Oh my gosh. And then the other great line of her, she's like, on 79, where he's like, he's about to leave, and she's like, oh, Benedict, and he's like, what? Basically, he's like, what? And she's like, you will tell me what happens, won't you? And he's like, of course. And she's like, you're lying to me, but I forgive you. It's so nice to see you in love. And you alluded to that before, and I love that so much. I would love that verbatim. Give it to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's one of the ways that they can really distinguish this season, and what really distinguishes this book as well, that this is a love at first sight situation here. I mean, it just is. And it, harkens back to all of the great love at first sight stories. And it's a fairy tale. So let's do it. Let's drop the L word into the first episode or two. And let's make it different. Let's embrace that.
For sure. Because, spoiler alert, it's going to be this lady in silver, and the love is going to be almost a dark cloud when we get into Benedict and Sophie falling for each other. It's going to be like, well, what about this love that I had for the lady in silver? Like, it's just a theme that's going to follow throughout, and I think it's important for the stage to be set for the audience in the show to be like, whoa, this is the first time we ever talk about the L word with Benedict, and it's for somebody he doesn't know and he may never see again. And it becomes this whole thing. So very stressful.
It is. When we go from such a cute little moment and such a lovely domestic scene of family to suddenly the opposite in Sophie's house.
Yeah. Just a freaking shit show. And I love how the transition is literally, again, just somebody howling, Sophie! Like, they're just always, it makes me think of, like, with Ainsley being like, Claire! It's, like, always, Sophie!
I totally had the same thought.
That's just constantly what's happening. Sophie! Yeah. Jesus Christ. Poor Sophie. Did she ever get a 15-minute smoke break? Like, come on. Let her take the edge off, guys. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I've censored that, but whatever.
Oh, that was beautiful. I loved it. If we don't have children listening, it's fine. Nobody's impressionable on here.
It's an e-podcast, but yeah.
Exactly. No, I love that too on 80 when Araminta is like convinced that someone is wearing her shoes, and Sophie's like, I assure you, no one has been wearing your shoes. Sophie replied, amazed that she was able to keep her voice even. She's just bald-faced lying, and I just love that from Sophie. She just looks her dead in the face and it's like, no, of course not.
She did really well. She did really well. And spoiler for later in this chapter, or later in this section, Araminta's so fucking smart. Like, she's actually really smart.
Scary.
It's kind of scary. So, like, this kind of is the beginning of, like, the demise of Sophie, where she's... If I'm a Sophie, I'm tripping out. I'm trembling. Because I'm like...
Yeah.
How did you realize that? You know?
And also, like, Araminta... is like, she says on 82, then you may instruct Rosamond to lock you in my closet. What kind of psychological torture is it to tell someone that they have to, like, order their own imprisonment?
I know. So bad. It's so mean. And, like, the fact that she's like, she goes to Posey, she's like, I can't ask Rosamond, please just fucking lock me in the closet. Like, yeah. At least, thank goodness for Posey. And, like, I feel like we're going to say that a lot throughout this reread. Because, like, bless Posey. Oh, what a yeah. Yeah, you may instruct.
We can censor this if we want to. But I wrote, is Araminta going to be this much of a see you next Tuesday in the show? Like,
well, that's the thing. I don't know. And I just don't believe that...
Yeah.
That we can, like, feel sorry for somebody who acts like that.
No.
So, I don't know. No,
if she behaves like this, I have no redemption for her. Like,
No, there's really nothing. There's nothing.
No. Because you can't wield that kind of power against somebody who's powerless and be forgivable.
Yeah, that freaking brings us to chapter 5. Which is the end of part 1 already. So, chapter 5.
And I will say, like, I feel like if this is all the further that the love triangle goes with Rosamond, I will be thrilled. Thanks, guys.
That is the most wishful thinking I've ever heard you vocalize ever. You're just, like, automatically, like, I think that's it. I would be so glad if it was.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
and thank
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're right. You're right, Cass. I really do think that that's where they will cap the love triangle. There will be nothing more.
It is Delulu land, and we're happy to be here.
Yeah, we welcome.
Population moi.
Oh my god, I cannot wait for more information on this and to talk to you about it because it's not going to be good.
All right, fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
I'm gonna make a cake because like you've had this like visceral reaction against it since like I don't even know the beginning of the podcast, so I will definitely be making an episode of you being like consistently rattled at the thought of this love triangle between Posey, Sophie, and Rosamund. No, not Posey. Rosamund, Sophie, and Benedict.
Sophie and Rosamund. It's an adventure.
That took a turn. Benedict has nothing to do with this. It's interesting. Different times.
Oh my gosh.
So much so that you're like, oh, maybe Footman John is going to be a love triangle. You're just trying to make anything else happen.
Well, they have to do a love triangle in Bridgerton, so if it could not be with Rosamund, I would be thrilled. So let's throw Footman John in there. I don't care. Let's go. He can be in love with both Benedict and Sophie. I don't give a fuck. Let's go. Like,
I kind of love that.
our bi kings that we have in here. So.
Oh, we love. Woo! Well, all I'm landing on right now is uncharacteristically anxious. Yeah, that's not us. We're just always anxious. That's our character.
That's accurate.
But yeah, anyways, chapter 5 is where we see, for the first time, Benedict and the Penwood household family collide.
Yeah.
So he gets led directly to the Penwood Gunningworth situation. So
Yeah. And I love there's like a ton of humor in this scene, which I need this scene because I was deprived of the one scene that I really wanted most from Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, where Portia thinks that Colin is trying to propose to Prudence, or no, to Felicity. She thinks he's trying to propose to Felicity, and I didn't get that. And this has a very similar energy, and I need it. I need it in season 4.
oh my god. Before you even said anything, I was like, I know what you're gonna say. I needed that scene so badly. I love Colin just standing up for Penelope. Sure, fine, whatever. But I needed that comedic relief. Oh, it would have been so good. But yeah, I think we'll get it here. I think it's the opportunity for sure.
Yeah. And it gets to show kind of that externalized, like, version of Benedict's internal humor, because he's hilarious in the book, and his internal monologue is super funny.
Yeah, and it's like on page 87 where he's like, oh, I can't wait to meet Posey, because he clearly knows that she's trying to push Rosamund on him, so he's like, Posey sounds lovely, thank you so much. So hopefully there's a lot of like Benedict not entertaining Rosamund whatsoever.
That's what we can hope. Well, and I also think, which is interesting, because Posey is like a fuller figured representation in the book, and maybe not the best version of that. This is like a 2000s version, early 2000s version of positive representation of him being like, oh, I'll throw a bone to the chubby girl and be nice to her and whatever because her mom's mean. And I'm like, I understand it's well intentioned. It's the 2000s. We've come a long way in the last 25 years. That's fine. But I do think it's interesting, and I think I don't know that I love the choice of not casting a fuller figured actress for Posey, which I absolutely love Isabella Way. Zero against her. In no way is that any knock on her, because I'm sure she's going to kill the character, like be absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. I would like a little more size representation. Like, you know, just because you have one person in Penelope, that doesn't mean you end there. So I would like to have seen some more size representation, more size diversity in our characters. But
I hear you. Because no matter what size you are, seeing Penelope, especially in season 3, especially in episode 5, you're like, wow, this is nice. It's really nice to feel like whatever it is, you saw yourself there. And like I saw myself, like everybody probably had a moment of like, this is just really refreshing. So it would be nice to paint that a little bit more like generously throughout the series. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it would have been nice to kind of lean into that aspect of the book. And even
Yeah,
in
for sure.
anything, like it doesn't have to be like per the book. Like it could just be, it could be diverse throughout the whole thing. So
Yeah. And Bridgerton does, largely speaking, a really fantastic job with that. So that was just an area that I noticed that I would like to see more of. And I love Posey. Like, I have that note of, I was just like, she got her own color just because I loved her so much for highlighting. I was like, I just love this girl.
oh, cute.
So,
I love
she's
that.
fabulous.
Yeah, well then I guess we just go on about Benedict making small talk
Yeah.
with Araminta, trying to see what little bit of information he can get, all the while we know that Sophie locked herself in a cupboard, so we don't think we're gonna, it's very unlikely that we're gonna have Sophie bursting into this kind of drawing room at any given time. So yeah, we're just kind of we're seeing Araminta slowly put pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah. Well, that's what my highlight on page 93 is. My note with that is, well, shit. When she's like, he came here looking for her. I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
That was fun. But that's the thing, like I said earlier, she's fucking smart. She's cunning. And that is one of the adjectives that they've used to describe her, that she is cunning. And that just proves it, that she's like, huh, the glove. Why is he looking at the glove? And then she's putting it together that the shoes that are scuffed are shoes that somebody must have worn, and now she's thinking he came here looking for Sophie. It is a big conclusion to pull from those different pieces of information, but she figured it out.
yeah. Well, and that was also the line that I highlighted for the I love Posey, is when Posey says, I should think I know a glove when I see one, because they're like, that's not a glove. And she's like, I know a glove. It's not that hard, guys, because they're just so contradictory of everything she says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was like, when she's like, oh wait, that is a glove, I was like, oh, redemption. It's so small, it's so minor, but I'm like, see, Posey, you're right. Just always try to say your truth. But yeah, I mean, at that moment, she's just like, oh, wait a minute. And then it's almost like you can picture the scene cutting and like Araminta like running out of the room and the girls being like, what the fuck is happening? But Araminta, she's smart. She knows exactly what's happening, and she runs up to where Sophie is barricaded in a closet.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels like a horror movie. Like when you get onto 95 and Araminta flings the door open, she's so scary, and then she's stepping on Sophie's skirt so that Sophie is like forced to stay in a kneeling position. She is literally pinning her in her place. Like she is going to prove to Sophie that she is lower than the rest of them by forcing her to stay on her knees. Like that's horrifying. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it is so awful, and how she's just verbally like demeaning her. Like, she's just saying, you're not useful to me, like, you're out of here. And it's interesting that she just led with that, how she was like, I'm done with you. She didn't even lead. Like, she just kept the whole, like, I know you are the masquerade for, like, the final blow. You know, and it's so calculated. Again, something that they've already expressed that she is in the show. Like, calculated, cunning. Oh, geez. Like, someone we're gonna love to hate. But yeah, and when she goes on page 97 saying like, don't you ever compare yourself to me, when Sophie speaks about her blood being the same as hers, She's like, no, we are not the same. She will not allow it. So it's harsh.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like Araminta's sense of self is so attached to being better than other people and having something inherent about her reality that makes her better because she has nothing else. She's not kind, she's not good, she's not loved, she's just feared. And if she's better, then she's can hold on to that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Also, and we have the obviously she's kicking Sophie out. And on 97, Sophie says, like, Sophie had always known that this day might come, and it had seemed prudent to hold on to what little funds she possessed. How long has she been doing that? She's only like 20, 21, whatever she is. Like,
Yeah.
it's so sad to be so aware that you could have, you know, your life upended, that you're saving your tiny little bits of money from when you were like 11.
Yeah. I mean, she's always been very aware of her situation, and I guess as soon as she, met this new person and these new, like, what she thought was going to be siblings, but ended up being just stick in the wheel, like, it's just, yeah, she's a smart girl, so the fact that she had been saving would make total sense. But I think that what's most interesting and kind of adds a dramatic flair to everything is how she kind of spots those little shoe clips from the corner of her eye. And she's like, it's survival mode. Like, that's all it is when she decides that she needs that so that she can leave London and make it because nobody else is going to help her.
Well, and Araminta just hit her. Like, she slaps her. It's brutal. Yeah.
Also, yeah, that I skimmed over that because I just really hope that that's not what happens in the show. I hope that it's more like verbal abuse and not physical because I feel like Sophie's been through enough. So this part is hard again to justify for any kind of redemption in the end. So yeah, I really hope they don't put that, but I don't think anybody's ever gonna fault Sophie for taking anything on her way out because she never deserves to be treated that way, and she deserves any chance she can get to make it out on her own.
Yeah. Well, and I love too, like, Sophie's reasoning for leaving London. Like, A, she loves the country, so that makes sense for her to want to head back out there. But also on 98, she says, not to mention that Benedict Bridgerton was here. London was a large city, and Sophie had no doubt that she could successfully avoid him for years. But she was desperately afraid that she wouldn't want to avoid him, that she'd find herself gazing at his house, hoping for the merest glimpse as he came through the front door. And that's so tragic. Because it's okay, so Ted Lasso, obviously, we love this show. But it reminds me of when they say it's the hope that kills you. Like,
Yeah.
that's what that is. It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is smart enough to know that she needs to remove herself completely from any chance of crossing paths with what could have been. So, yeah, it is heartbreaking. But that's again, survival. That's the only way she's gonna make it is to just go somewhere else entirely. But as we know, fate will step in. So, to be continued.
To be continued. I love it. Oh my gosh. Guys, that is the first part of An Offer from a Gentleman. That is prologue through chapter 5. Deb, we did it. That was amazing. That was a monster of an episode, but that was so good.
It's so good. It's so good. It sets the scene completely, and oh my gosh, I am so excited to keep reading and just see. I mean, we know the story, but it's just it's something else entirely when you're deep diving it and you're breaking it down and knowing that, we're getting to the end of them filming Block 4 and hopefully we get season 4 in 2026. Like, there's no better time than now to kind of break it down. So I'm excited for the next part.
Yeah. And guys, join us. We are going to be reading and breaking down chapters 6 through 10 next week. It's a little bit shorter of a chunk, actually a significant portion shorter of a chunk. So we'll dive in with that, and I cannot wait.